Hello, good evening, and thanks for your time tonight. This is Ideas Exchange. 78 years ago today, I'm making reference to 28th February 1948. A group of men, 3 men, Ghanaians, were shot dead. What happened? They were marching to the Flagstaff House at the time, and I'm making reference to Flagstaff House because at that time, Christian Bock Castle was what was hosting what will become, at our age today, the presidency. And they were just going to demand what was promised them when they went to the World War. But when they were shot, it angered Ghanaians. There were protests, riots. In fact, they were targeting Europeans and Asians. And fast forward, this will lead to the advantage which was taken by the UGCC. And later, we gained our independence. And so the pictures I'm showing on the screen is just what I culled out of a documentary which was reflecting what Ghanaians stood for at the time. And so in the pictures I am rolling, you will see that we are making reference to the rioting at the time, some names that came up eventually to form the UGCC, and later when Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, led the team and Ghana gained independence. Now, 67 years since, and I'm making reference to when Ghana gained independence on 6th March 1957. So Ghana is 67 years old today. Now, those men who sacrificed their lives, if they have the opportunity to look at the Ghana we have today, what do you think will be going through their minds? And this brings us to questions about what was presented to Parliament yesterday. The president had the opportunity to tell Ghanaians the state of the nation. For him and the MPP, the Ghana we see today is far, far, far better in terms of achievements since 1992, and by extension, when Ghana gained independence. And so for Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP, their achievements are much more than any other person. And he makes reference to several areas where he thinks that they've done better. Now, I'll make specific reference to some of them. He mentions free SHS. He talks about the road sector. He talks about planting for food and jobs. In fact, he talks about the economy, which is bouncing back as a result of what they did. But the president, of course, missed a few things that many Ghanaians will not be happy about. Before I make reference, quick reference to one of the things he talks about, I want you to listen to the president just in 2019, and I'm talking about January 31st, 2019, what he said, and why many people are surprised that he's now pursuing a tangent which appears as if they are trying to whitewash the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, or they want to shield him from criticism because of the messed up economy today. So I have 2 videos. One, what the president said about Dr. Bawumia on the 31st of January 2019 and what he said yesterday. First, let's go to Ayawaso West Wogon.
Honorable Emmanuel Chairman Tinejaku Enyonyam. Second reason, Yebetuama Ma Lydia Ascendi clear message on Thursday. Mwati Mokoto na Omaina Ati say we have 0 tolerance for incompetence.
Yeah, Bano. If you have been one, they might pass every baby that Ghana for. You might be casting with the same, yes, me to me yet. I mean, and that baby, you're true for. In some way, I can find on the Mokai. Some Mokai be there. Bawumia knew, Bawumia no. Yakubondi, we are saying, Aguina, Ashenu. Was said that I have paper to show that 41 promises made by the MPP and its presidential candidates within 2 years, 41 have already been fulfilled and delivered as we speak now.
So The president suggests that Dr. Baumia has all the wisdom in the world. In fact, they made us believe that Dr. Mahamadou Baumia, our vice president, is an economic wizard. And so he was going to become his backbone to solve our problems. Yesterday, the president suggested that he takes full responsibility for the state of Ghana today, and that Dr. Baumia was simply useless. He didn't use him. That narrative was what came out when Dr. Baumia launched his vision at the University of Professional Studies here in Accra. So it will look as if there is a new coin word which will make Baumia look like a driver's mate many Ghanaians don't want to accept. So our conversation tonight is going to look at the State of the Nation address. The president spoke for nearly 1 hour, 50 minutes. We're not going to look at all the areas. We'll zero in on the agric and the roads and highways sector. My guest tonight will be helping me to appreciate what he understands from the State of the Nation address, and then we'll zero in on the road sector, which the president says has been an area where the NPP government, headed by him, has done much more better than any government since 1992, and by extension, since independence. But before we begin that conversation, I want to draw your attention to something very sensitive, something many people describe as sheer sign of wickedness, because the president is aware of the disaster which was created by government or government agencies, the Volta River Authority, and by extension, the dam spillages which displaced over 30,000 people. This was a national disaster. We know government has voted over 204 million cedis in the 2024 budget. Till date, nothing has happened. And I remember just recently, the MP for North Tong, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, who was charged, had to solicit support from philanthropists, from good, well-meaning Ghanaians, to build what he calls an affordable housing project for them. And so you see in the video that is being shown on the screen, the new facility that some of the people have been moved to. So that is the facility which was just recently commissioned. But the president addressed the nation, and a State of the Nation address failed to talk about the flood victims. And this was Okudzeto-Ablakwa's response.
It is most condemnable, totally unpresidential, and absolutely un-Ghanaian for the president to deliver a message on the State of the Nation address. A careful reading of Article 67 of the Constitution is very clear. You must speak to the issues that matter to the people, that are germane, that are of utmost concern to the people, that affect the lives of the people. The president cannot say that there's been any disaster on the scale of what we have experienced in my constituency, which is the epicenter, and other constituencies, and across multiple regions. So it's a national disaster. For the president to speak for over an hour, and he did not utter a word, not a word of empathy, not any progress report about what is being done. Because as I speak to you, there are thousands of our fellow citizens who are living in tents, like refugees, in abject destitution. There's been no resettlement from the government, no compensation from the government, no attempt to help them with their livelihoods, when they did absolutely nothing to deserve this, no fault of theirs. The VRA just spilled, took everybody by surprise in a full blast. And to hear the president speak and touch on so many issues, even having time to talk about personal things, about the fact that he doesn't take alcohol, and the fact that he's getting into the hazard, those who are shouting won't get into the hazard, had time for a lot of things and could not find expression for fellow citizens who are in distress, who are in devastation, who have faced this catastrophe of such a magnitude. I think that what the president has done is reprehensible, is repugnant, it must be condemned by all Ghanaians.
And so the conversation will continue. My guest tonight became a member of parliament since 2012. So technically, he's done more than 10 years. So gradually, he's becoming one of the Mugabes in parliament. He has an experience in human resource development and labor relations mining and roads. He's a former deputy minister for roads and highways, and that is why our conversation tonight will look at the aspect of roads, year of roads, and more roads constructed at the MPP compared to the NDC at the time. And for many of you who may still be guessing, my guest is Isaac Ejay Mensah. Good evening, and thanks for your time.
Nice seeing you.
It's been a while seeing me and you sitting together. Many people in Takrady, Pristia, and beyond Bogoso will be happy to see us because we've done a lot in the past. And so I'm privileged to have you. Now, first of all, if you listen to Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa's concern and many other things that may have come up, even though before you go into your debate, if you look at the State of the Nation address, when the president was presenting it, what was going through your mind?
Thank you so very much, Eric, and our cherished viewers. I'm honored to be with you. I think this is the first time.
This is the first time I'm having a one-on-one with you, even though we've done a lot in the past.
Exactly.
And I'm also privileged to have you in my studios. I never thought my producers will fall on you as the part one of our conversations on Sona.
Thank you so very much. I think I won't zoom straight into the discussion. Having greeted and thank you for allowing me in here. I think the Sona, for me, I was very much disappointed. And of course, you see my friend Okudzeto, coming out with that passion and with emotionality in that sense. I think that for the president, not at least allaying the worries, just commenting on that disaster, this is a man-made disaster. And for him not talking about it, I think it is worrying. Especially where we made several efforts in getting Ghanaians to know. You remember the sort of flood in terms of, stuff. I mean, provisions and many things for them, and the role that Okudzeto played, and many more. The role that President Mahama played, and many more organized Ghanaians did. And I think that for the president not commenting on that is unfortunate, and I think it's unacceptable. We are in a country where we must be accepting ourselves, and such a man-made disaster should be condemned. It should be condemned. Apart from condemning, there's an opportunity for President Akufo-Addo to talk about it. When he had opportunity to talk about football and many things like he doesn't like alcohol and many things, I think it's unacceptable.
No, but for you as Parliament, because I want us to be a bit brief, but still dig this a little further. There's a president who went to the community, and some say it was sarcasm, but others took it serious and suggested that they didn't vote for him, and therefore ordinarily they shouldn't be expecting him to do something. This is a president who has been heavily criticized for loose comments to the people from Ekumfi about them not voting for one of his candidates, and for that reason he neglected them. And this is a president who said he had established a committee to look at how to deal with the disaster after we got to know how devastating it was. The chief of staff was supposed to chair it, and almost all the key members of cabinet were supposed to be part of this committee. So if the president is speaking to the country about the state of Ghana today, and he omits it, how best can Parliament reprimand him by way of, at least during your debate, deal with the critical issues Ghanaians must be proud of as far as the minorities' position is concerned?
So I think the debate is yet to start, and some of us will talk forcefully on that one. His non-performance, we think that it was a nice opportunity, an opportunity time for him to appeal to Ghanaians that, hey, I came in at a time when the economy wasn't that bad, because NDC President Mahama left a very good economy for him in terms of what he left. I want to make reference to the level of inflation, the oil fields, 3 of those areas that we gave him, and many more. IMF had predicted that in 2017 the economy was going to grow by 78%. It was going to be one of the fastest growing economies in the sub-region and indeed in the world. And so he inherited in so much. You remember when he said, "Oh, I have not inherited anything. I've inherited 120 billion Ghana cedis." Now what are we saying? I think that we expected, and yesterday, and as you get into the debate, we talk forcefully about that. I would want to push exactly into the areas of infrastructure where he has underperformed abysmally, and that we want Ghanaians to know that he made that opportunity. We make reference to Honorable Kujeto's comment, and indeed the disaster, the Mame disaster. Some of us still thought that he could be talking about the killings during the elections, the
Chiman South killings.
The South killings. That 2020 elections, about 9 people lost their lives. And a very critical opportunity for Nana Akufo-Addo just to appeal to Ghanaians, get to Ghanaians, I'm about to exit. And therefore, whatever wrongs that have been committed, either deliberately or not, I think that as a nation, let's get together and move on. Especially where we have witnessed the very worst economy, the economy has been so battered, and so on and so forth. He lost that opportunity. So, Eric, I think that when we delve into the debate, some of us are going to be very strong on him.
And you think this will be a blot on his image as a president, a legacy is leaving by superintending on things that many Ghanaians are concerned about, yet he pretends not to care?
That's a worry, because you see, he seemed to be concerned, and you could see in his demeanor, very worried. It took about 3 or so hours. Normally, the State of the Nation Address program starts at 10 o'clock. By the time it was 10 in the past, you see everybody seated and started. I've never cited, I can't remember any occasion where such important occasion had delayed so much. That is only during his time, and he's going to go with it. You remember the comments by the minority leader?
Mm-hmm.
We are not going to miss you. We are not going to miss you because you show that level of insensitivity. We are not going to miss you because you have left such a bad economy when you inherited so much, particularly for human issues, like what happened, in Habe, the disaster area, and so much killings. We will never miss you. We can only miss you that you come to such occasion without insensitivity, where you only mention the fact that, you're taking so much water because you don't take alcohol.
Now, let's look at some specifics, because I want us to zero in on the specific area where we want to speak to. The president obviously cannot assume that MPP has not done anything. Free SHS is one of his scorecards. He's proud of it. The achievement for him is great. And I remember he even said that the debate must stop and let us speak to how to solve problems. He talks about digitalization. He talks about the economy, which is bouncing back. And of course, he re-emphasizes the fact that they have done so much. I have a small clip. This clip talks about the economy. It talks about efforts to address those who are affected by the domestic debt exchange program. And of course, he makes reference to other few areas, which will be part of what he claims to be achievements. For the benefit of doubt, I want our viewers to listen to the president briefly. You speak to it, and then we delve to the critical areas.
Mr. Speaker, as you may recall, government successfully paid the first coupon of 2.3 billion cedis on the new bonds on 22nd August 2023. At the time, that was the single biggest payout of domestic payments in a single day for Ghana. We then paid 2 billion and 60 million cedis for the last leg of the domestic debt exchange on 5th September 2023. A week ago last Tuesday, on 20th February 2024, the second coupon of 5.8 billion cedis was paid to domestic bondholders. This is the largest coupon paid in a day in Ghana's history. On the external debt side, we achieved a significant milestone by reaching an agreement with our public creditors. And I'll use this occasion to express our appreciation to the Republic of France and the People's Republic of China, co-chairs of the Official Creditors Committee, for their positive roles in this achievement. We have also intensified our engagement with our external bondholders on the principles of transparency, fair treatment, consistency with the IMF debt sustainability analysis, and good faith.
So beyond the sectors that I refer to, the president also claims that for the government or his finance minister to be able to pay those who fell under the domestic debt exchange program, it was an achievement. And even for the Paris Club to agree to support Ghana's debt management strategy for IMF to give us some bailout package was also an achievement. Now, how do you juxtapose what Ghanaians are crying about in terms of the impact of the IMF bailout program and the president claiming credit as an achievement for what they did?
It's strange, and I don't get it. You create a very bad situation, as a clear case of incompetence and neglect. Then, in solving a problem, you want to be congratulated, you want to be praised for solving that problem. I don't understand. It's just like beating somebody or slapping your neighbor, and by stopping alone, you want that person to thank you for stopping beating me. It's unacceptable.
But it will look as if they were doubting Thomases when they wanted to go for the option of the domestic debt exchange program. And so for them, being able to run it and at least raise funds to pay 5-point-something billion, as he laid emphasis, was an achievement.
In the first place, it was not uncalled for. It was unnecessary getting into that challenge, that problem. And so, why would you want to praise yourself for resolving a problem that you created? We are still in a challenge situation. So I think that, I don't know why he went there. He is not getting it. MPP Nakufari is not getting it. You've created a major problem. Look at what he's saying, that you've been able to pay the highest coupon. When in the history of this country that we went into this challenge that we are not able to pay, I think it's unacceptable. We shouldn't praise him for this, because he should be showing some remorseful, attitude or demeanor. That indeed, I expect Akufo-Addo to sort of apologize for pushing us into this situation, because we were not there. What wrong did we do? Why did we get it wrong to get into this situation? I think he's getting it wrong. How could he be praising himself that he's been able to pay 5 billion to money that people's money? You're able to pay them back. So, you must be praised for that. I think you don't get it.
Now, he's an astute politician, many will say, and has lived it even before 1992. Why do you think you'll be making such mistakes? Is it his handlers? Is it his own mindset? Or it is just a reflection of him, Dr. Bawumia, and his people, and that is what they are? Because even some in MPP are surprised at this.
I think it's collective. It's a collective responsibility, and that is the way they've grown, with their lives. I just don't get it. If you study Akufo-Addo Bahumia's administration properly, you realize that they just out of the work. They will virtually do everything wrong, and they expect you to praise them and thank them. And if you don't do that, you are a problem. How on earth will you push people into ditch and you try to bring some solution? This solution is coming from outside. IMF told them, until we come in, do ABCD. You remember they said we're going to go to IMF.
I do.
They were not going to IMF. So they were compelled to go to IMF. And I told them, if you want us to help you, do ABCD. And look at the domestic debt restructuring. It has never happened in the history of Ghana before. And so getting us this far, people have been made worse off. Look at the currency and many more. You are paying back people's money. I'm not sure whether they're going to pay interest even on it. You want to be praised. I think it's unacceptable.
The president said he has solved Dumso, or at least permanently. It formed part of his presentation. Today, PURC is telling us that the Dumso that is back is a result of fuel shortage, which means there are issues yet to be addressed. He virtually said nothing about corruption. Do you think that these are deliberate strategies just to mislead Ghanaians, to make them believe that there are much more important things, and therefore they will be that gullible as we walk into an election year?
Yeah, so thank you. I think that corruption is one of the things that I never heard him talk about, because I was thinking I was going to say something about corruption, because his administration it has been dirty with corruption. Corruption everywhere, particularly in his administration, with family and friends, administration. So I thought you were going to say something about it. In the history of this country, we have never registered the level of corruption in Akufo-Addo. So I expected him to say something about corruption, and he did not. But back to Dumso. We didn't create Dumso. Dumso had a history. It was President Mahama who had a deliberate, action against Dumso. By the time that he exited office in 2016. June by October was dead and gone with all the power injections and all those that he did. You remember the car and all those things that he did. By the time that Nana Akufo-Addo took power, January 2017, the issue of power or June was gone. To the extent that we had excess power, and they even had a challenge, and still have a challenge of excess power management. So how on earth can you get us into this situation of Dumsor again? We are back in Dumsor. And what is saying they don't have fuel? Can you imagine? What are we doing with the gas and many things? I think that Nana Akufo-Addo has failed. This government has failed. They better probably blame, come to Ghanaians and say, I'm sorry we are in this situation, the Ukraine war and many things probably may account for it. But they're not admitting it. They're still saying that they're doing better. That is unacceptable.
Now, let's now walk to the road sector. You remember, just after 2020, the president was talking about the year of roads. And even in the budget that came before the last one, which was read before we enter into our electioneering campaign, this became the narrative. And the president again reiterated that what they have done in the road sector is far better than what every other person did. For want of time, I would assume that many of us heard what the president said. And so I want us to speak to it. But if you perhaps want us to play a little of what he said.
Why not? Let's do
okay,
that.
So let's hear a little of what the president said as far as infrastructure is concerned.
We're committed to concluding the external debt restructuring process as soon as possible, so we move past the crisis. This will enable us to complete substantially projects that have been constrained due to financial challenges. In the meantime, some of the priority projects have been transferred onto the GOG budget with the same fiscal space to ensure their completion. This will enable the Kumasi International Airport, with some 98% complete, to be completed by May. Other projects like the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, CATH, maternity block in Kumasi, the Takoradi Interchange, the Beche-Bilamte Interchange in Accra, the University of Environment Sustainable Development Project at Bunso in the Eastern Region, Phase 2 of the construction of roads in Tamale, and the construction of the 84-kilometer railway line between Tema and Nakosombo would also be completed.
So these are excerpts of what the president said. In fact, I've been following the MPP and government by extension, and I know the Roads and Highways Minister has also been very, very consistent in suggesting that they have created or built more roads than any other government. They make reference to Tamale, Takoradi, Obeche-Bilamte, Nungwa, Tema, and Pokwasi interchanges, or what people would describe as an enhanced road project. They talk about some aspect of cocoa roads, urban roads. They talk about asphalting layouts that they are putting in some urban centers. I have seen some of them. Does it suggest that they mean what they say by suggesting that they built more roads than you?
Thank you. Let's put it in perspective. I think that what Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP people have got it wrong is the fact that they deceive themselves that they have constructed roads more than any other government. Indeed, if you go into the chronological details, the history, you realize that Nana Akufo-Addo is or has been the president that has underperformed as far as road construction is concerned. Remember when he came to Parliament, I think the previous, Sona.
The first time.
Sona, he talked about the fact that, they've constructed 10,800
kilometers of roads.
And in Parliament, we disputed that. And I brought details to the extent that we showed him that that is not possible. So what they did was that he brought that book and many things showing roads to the extent that roads that were constructed by President Mahama at Dabuasi Ateku was part of his road that he constructed. And so the engineers, the minister came to Parliament and said, yes, all we're saying is that some of them are projections. And so it's not been validated. And the point is that if you say you've constructed roads to that tune and it's not been validated, we cannot accept it. We can only accept the details that you have submitted to Parliament from 2017 to date.
Can you clarify it? When you say it has not been validated, what specifically are you referring to?
In the road sector, if you say I've constructed roads, I've built roads, I've graded roads, the engineers will have to validate it. Because if it is validated, you go to the grounds and you see it, it's verifiable. Otherwise, you just can churn in details and say I've constructed so much. So when the president made that details, I came to challenge it with facts from the budget statement and economic policy. And that is the only incontrovertible source. Because every ministry, because you took money or they took money and they need more money again going forward, you need to account for the money that you took. So the details are there. And that is the fact. When you went there, you realize that that is not the case. And so when we challenged, they had to go back, and they came back with a report that yes, these are roads in most of them are in the process of being completed. Just last year, the going minister or the gone minister on Amakwata came and confirmed that yes, the government has constructed 6,000 roads. Period. Done. Sealed. Completed. 4,000 more are in various stages of completion. How does that fit into what Nana Akufo-Addo said? That means the 4,000 kilometers of roads have not been analyzed, concluded. And so he said by the end of 2024, the 10,000 kilometers of road would have been completed. So we were right when we said that Nana Akufo-Addo, as we speak now, his performance of road construction 6,977 kilometers. I'm talking about urban roads, feeder roads, and highways. And so that cannot be true. Remember Baumia also saying that he constructed 11,000 and over. So the question is that, who is speaking the truth? The president came to parliament and said, I've constructed over 10,000 kilometers of road, and it's unprecedented, more than any other government. Completed, sealed. Why are you coming back and saying, the minister, that yes, the 10,000 involves some roads that have not been finalized and sealed? But you know, we said majority of the roads that were constructed were gravel roads. When we grade roads, you have not constructed them. One would ask, if we say one has constructed road, Eric, what is the road construction?
That's the question I would have asked, because I live in a rural community. Maybe I need farm tracks. Somebody lives in a relatively urban community. They may need roads that may not necessarily be asphalted. So in your industry, when we say roads constructed, what really do you refer to?
Basically, that's what it means. So we have completed roads and uncompleted roads. And so if we say roads are constructed, a road is constructed, this is what it means. It could rather be rehabilitated road. Rehabilitation, I mean, the network is already there. For instance, from Accra to Takoradi, the network is there. The road is bad. So if you improve on the road by either adding more asphalt or more bitumen, you have improved on the road. You have rehabilitated it. So you can take it to your credit that, yes, you've constructed road, because you put more life and longevity into that structure. You can be seen to have constructed roads. If you create a new road altogether, you know, in an earth road, by earth road I'm talking about is gravel road. You create a new structure, a new road, and opening up the network. You haven't constructed road. You must be seen to have constructed that road. When you develop it, you have the culverts, you have the drains, and you have the, if you're not even bituminizing it, just even leave it, ram it, and that will have some permanency. Then you can say that, yes, I have constructed, you know, gravel road. Where the road exists, gravel road exists, and you improve upon it, you give the culverts and everything, and also the drains, and put the bitumen on it, there is some permanency. So you can be seen that, yeah, you've constructed roads. So we are talking about existing road that has been rehabilitated, not existing road that have been pothole patched. It is not, you know, the construction. So we have the issue of maintenance. In maintenance, we have periodic maintenance and routine maintenance.
So the Pokwase in Sawam Highway will be a permanent road that is being constructed.
So exactly, it's already there. So they're putting more life, and that is construction, that is rehabilitation. So you can say, Nana Akufo-Addo have constructed this road, even though the road was already there. So that one, you can say, until it is finished, because it must be finished and sealed, then they can get into the credit of Nana Akufo-Addo that this road, which we planned with so much money, is done and is finished. So when you talk about, you know, road construction, That is what we mean. Either you are creating a new road, put bitumen or put good life or permanency into it, if constructed road. If there is an existing road, for instance, a gravel road in my village, then you grade it. It's already there. You grade it, you haven't constructed road. Because when it rains, it will go bad again. That was what Nakufari was doing. Anytime they graded a gravel road, they said they've constructed. Yeah.
Now, let's look at this example, and I'm also learning from it. For example, if I live, and you are in the Western region, I know the Western region very well. Assuming you are moving from Tabuase through that enclave to Achempim, and it is typically a forest belt, and government intends to construct a road, and so the contractor grades it from, let's say, Tabuase to Achempim, let's say 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers, no culverts, or maybe the drains have been done. Now, when this project is complete and they've not put bitumen on it or gravels on it, and after 6 months it rains and a larger section of the stretch gets damaged, I cannot claim credit that I've constructed the road irrespective of the fact that it will enhance movements when it was quite smooth.
Exactly so, because see, if you do that, you probably have not put in permanency, some life, permanent life into it. Why am I saying this? The road already exists in the earth part of the structure or the system. And so it's a gravel road, the edge road. It is already there. The network is already there. So if you grade it, there probably may be one or two culverts. It's still a road that you need about 2 or 3 grading to put it into a motorability state. You have not done that. And when you ensure that the major culverts are done, you put in more laterite and you ram it, and if there is no heavy bitumen, you can be credited to have brought some good life, rehabilitation onto that part of road. So you could say that I have done some construction here. But you see, the indisputable situation is where you try as much as possible to put life into it. You put the bitumen into it and make sure that it lasts for a reasonable period. We have other areas also called spot improvement. The spot improvement is particularly where you don't have bitumen. You prepare the place, then the cover and everything, waiting for a period that there'll be the funds to put the asphalt or whatever on it. So that is what we say you have constructed roads. And so when the Basi road, for instance, is already there, you grade it to make it motorable. The next rainy season, it goes bad again. You grade it. You have not constructed road, because all you're doing is that you are maintaining it. And that is the routine maintenance. And you have the pothole patching and weeding and so on. But for periodic maintenance, when you do rehabilitation and upgrading, that is why you say.
Now let's go into some specifics here. Under the Kufuor regime, for example, I know very well that the stretch from Cape Coast through Winneba to Accra may be there in his credit as a major project he undertook. I think under the same regime, I am privy to the stretch from Tema, motorway runabout, all the way through to Sugakope. And then I think his regime left, and then the new government that came, Mills Mahama administration, had to complete it to Aflao. Now, if you want to look at Mills Mahama administration, what specific major road project, because now you are comparing notes, because Akufo-Addo has made reference to some of the projects he's undertaking. The Pokwase through Insawam to some where towards Nkoko stretch that they are constructing. Assuming they go very far before they exit or he exits, it will still be in his credit because he may have undertaken a major project. Under the NDC, you talk about roads and you say you equally did much better. Tell me, as a former Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways, those listening to us, what really can you speak to?
Eric, because you are from Western region, let's go to even Western region, basically. You know the road from Takwa, Bogosu Road, I am free Bogosu Takwa Road. That's a clear case of road that was constructed by the Mama Mills. You know the Apimenim Elibu Road,
Apimenim towards Axim through to Elugu.
Exactly. It's a clear case of some of the good roads that we constructed. You know that the Wasa Ateku Road, yes. That is clearly. And
it's one of the finest roads I've used recently.
Fufusi Sola. And many of the roads. And so, for instance, when we did the Circle Road here, you realize that we put life into the stretch. That is something you can know. Also, the various asphalt overlay, even though it's maintenance, it's what we can call the periodic maintenance. These are roads. There are many roads when you go to North region, or I made mention of Futu Solar and many more. So there are many of the roads that you could count into the credit of President Mahama and Mills and so on. But back to the point that you made mention of the road from Takoradi to Accra. So if this road receives a major in the first lift, that road, even though it was President Kufuor, because the road was already there, then he developed it. So he has that credit. If a major uplift is made, whoever did that will also have that credit. So they have construction.
Because part of that stretch was also taken care of by Jerry Rawlings, I remember, from I think Cape Coast towards Takoradi also.
So I made this example for you because you're from Western region. So basically, I made mention of the Libo Apinium Road, Arankwata Libo Apinium Road. I made mention of the Ayamfre, Takwa, Bogoso, Wasakropon Road. I made mention of also the Boise Ateku Road. I made mention also, and I have to make that mention, I've also road to Daman and so on. These are roads and many more. Every region, I should bring you the details. Every major region were roads. And you see, there was this policy of every district to have at least 10 kilometers of bituminized road. And that is what we did. And so the most important thing is that when these things are done, the records are sent to the government, and in presentation of the budget and economic policy, you send it to Parliament. And these records are there. That's what I was saying. These records are there. And
so if you are there, why will government be insistent that they think they did so much better than...
You see, the point is that we are not saying they have not constructed roads. You see, all the whole of Alu is that you have constructed roads. Because in the circumstance, in the details, I don't even have to go to this, but I'll come into the paragraphs and so on. When you check into the history since 1992, President Rawlings, in his 2 terms, stands tall. May his soul rest in peace. He constructed 18,900 and more roads. Then followed by President Mills Mahama. I'm talking about 2 terms. President Mills, in his first term, constructed, a bit of 7,000 kilometers. Then President Mahama, and then he is the only president in his first term that constructed more roads than any other government since
within 1 term.
That's 8,118 kilometers. We are talking about verifiable road, validated road, and so on. Tanakufaro, in his 2 terms, about to close, about to end, in 7 terms, his road completed, sealed, reported, validated, is 6,977 kilometers. And I can show you. I can give reference.
You can go to it. And my guest is Isaac James. He's a former minister, deputy minister for roads and highways. He's the MP for Wasa East. Wasa East, and of course, a ranking member for the Roads and Transport Committee of Parliament. The conversation here is looking at an aspect of the State of the Nation address with specific reference to one of the key areas the president takes credit for as the achievements. And we are trying to find out the reaction from the minority in Parliament to this consistent claim that the NPP government under Akufo-Addo has done more roads than any other. Now let's walk to the data.
Our reference source is the budget statement of budget, and economic policy of every government. And I just want to let people know that is the only incontrovertible source. It's undisputed. Because you bring the details, you said you've done this, come and defend this, you can get more money. That is the source. And in fact, Akufo-Addo, he took over in 2017 up to 2020. By the end of 2020, he had constructed, urban roads, feeder roads, and highways. And so maybe, let me explain, probably I'm taking this for granted. Urban roads are the city roads, the urban roads and all those things. And most of the time, the urban roads are, bituminized, and they're of high quality, and you see the asphalt and so on. Then the highways are the trunk roads, from Malibu to Aflao, from Tamale to, these are the trunk roads. And then we have the feeder roads. And feeder roads has over about 2/3 of the network, the various village roads and so on, where the cocoa roads and many more. So that is where we are saying at the end of Nana Akufo-Addo's time, he had constructed 4,331 kilometers. And in the budget statement of 2017 to 2018, he did 699 kilometers. In paragraph 531, I will leave the details with you. Paragraph 531, everybody should Google and go there. At the end of the year, urban, feeder, and trunk road, they did 699 kilometers in the first year.
And which budget was this?
That was budget statement for 2018.
Right.
Is there. Paragraph 531. For 2018, you found it in 2019 in terms of the performance. So what happens is that your performance will show in the next year budget statement. So in 2018, paragraph 721, he did 390 kilometers. You remember when they came, they said, okay, they suspended all roads, and we are investigating, and to the extent that this is going to do forensic, investigation into the cocoa roads. So they did a lot of slowdown. Then in 2019, that was when they started year of roads 1, year of roads 2, that he did 1,490 kilometers for urban, feeder, and trunk roads. That was paragraph 858. In 2020, his performance, which we seen in 2021 in budget statement, paragraph 831, he did 1,752 kilometers. And together, collectively, for the first time, he did 4,331 kilometers. That is the year of Route 1 and year of Route 2. It stands in his credit. And in the second term that we see now, is about 10 months to go. So in 2021, we found the 2022 budget statement, paragraph 867, he did 836 kilometers for urban, feeder, and trunk road. And 2022 is tenure, it could be found in 2023 in the budget statement, paragraph 701. He did 1,286 kilometers. And in 2023, that we see in the budget statement for 2024, paragraph 724, he did 524 kilometers. Collectively, he did, he has done 2,646 kilometers in his second term of 3
less than what he did in the first term.
Yes, because he's just about to finish. That's what the minister said, that, we hope to collectively, we hope to finalize all our road projects. But for now, we have 6,000 kilometers of road sealed, and the rest by the end of the year it will be done. So collectively, when we put together, he has done 6,977 kilometers. And so the minister confirms this, that by the end of 2024, they will have constructed sealed.
That is all things being equal.
All things being equal.
Well, my guest is Isaac James. I'll come back to you, sir. We'll be taking a short break. But the conversation is getting interesting because his claims are being backed by facts that are verifiable, because this program will be repeated tomorrow between 1 and 2 p.m., which means that any specific budget and the page that is referred to with reference to roads that government claims, the finance minister claims has been financed and completed, that will be reported to, because the budget statement is a collectively various sectors of the economy which have been put together, which will be the document that is presented. So after the break, we'll look at some other interesting aspects. After this particular issue is going to conclude on, we'll look at cocoa roads. Just recently, Parliament is considering hauling the Cocoa Board CEO before Parliament and maybe the Roads and Highways Minister to speak to cocoa roads, which ones have been awarded and why contractors are still owed. Another interesting aspect that should have informed the President's State of the Nation address. Don't go away, I'll be back.
Upon your arrival, you are introduced to your butler, who plans your itinerary. So many activities, all in the same premises. Visit the gym or the stables, they have it all. At my break, I'm able to practice my putting. They used only electric vehicles here. This creates a serene environment. I'm told it's over 1,000 acres. My cabin here sits on 2 acres with a large terrace space overlooking my private swimming pool. Now this is royalty. They have their own farms, thousands of fruit trees. I can also have my lunch here at the waterfall. Quite a beautiful place you have yourself.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural. For bulk purchase, call 0596 273 546 or 0596 273 547. This advert is FDA approved.
Come back. The program is Ideas Exchange. We are trying to dig into the State of the Nation Address 2024. And our specific conversation as we speak is on the road sector. And I have with me the ranking on the Roads and Highways Committee, a former Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways, and is trying to dispute this perception government wants to push into our minds that they have done far better in terms of road construction compared to any other government since 1992. Now, you try to make reference to the budget statements since 2017, and you've referenced that to pages that speak to validated roads that anybody can verify.
Exactly.
And Akufo-Addo did around 6,000 plus.
Yes.
Now that people are comparing, can we find out if you have documents to back what Rawlings may have done, what Mahama may have done, Atamils, and maybe Kufuor would have done during this?
We do. So that is the sources there. But because we talk, let's get it so quick. Now I want to talk about President Mahama. So Mahama, unfortunately, never had 2 terms. He had only a term. And that is why I said, in the history of this country, as far as the road sector is concerned, unprecedented since independence. He is the only, or has been the only president in his first term, did construct 8,118 kilometers of road. Incontrovertible, the sources are there, and it is sealed and validated. Let me give you those details. So you can just go to the budget statement, having agreed to the fact that the budget statement is the source. In 2020, you know he had a little bit of 2012 because he took over from President Mills. So you can have that portion in the 2013 budget, paragraph 505. He did 2,163 kilometers. Then in 2013 proper, you have that in 2014 budget statement, he did in paragraph 578, he did 408 kilometers. Then in 2014, and you can get it in 2015 budget statement, paragraph 495, he did 1,497 kilometers. Then in 2015, that is where we saw the astronomical and aggressive road performance, in the urban, rural, the asphalt overlay, the cocoon roads, and so on. In 2015, that's why you see 2016 in budget statement 569, he did 2,794 kilometers, unprecedented for urban feeder and urban, and the trunk. Then in 2016, when he was about to exit, in 2016, he was just going around to commission roads. And that is where you can see that in 2017 budget statement, paragraph 506, he did 1,256 kilometers. In total, we have 8,108 kilometers, 18 kilometers for the first time, unprecedented. And Akufo-Addo collectively, he has not been able to shoot whatever 7,000. Now President Mills. So when you add the 2 terms, we are talking about Kufuor's 2 terms, President Mills and Mahama 2 terms. President Mills had 7,000. That's the details for President Mills. President Mills has 7,000 and 7,100 and so. Okay, President Kufuor, President Rawlings, then President Mills and Mahama. So President Mills, good. President Mills, we have him coming from 2009. So at the end of 2009, you see it in, the
2010 budget.
Thank you. You follow that very much. Paragraph 362, 365, and 370. He did 2,393 kilometers for urban feeder and trunk road. Then in 2010, you see 2011 budget, paragraph 413, paragraph 416, and 420. He did 4,000.
Wow, that's impressive.
At Mills. unprecedented, and no government ever in that first term had done that. She did
in a single year.
Yes, in a single year, 4,560 kilometers. In paragraph 413, 416, and 420 is there. Then in 2011, you found out in 2012 budget, paragraph 532, 537, and 539. He did 481 kilometers. Then in 2013, because you see that in 2013 in the budget, that is where you have paragraph 505, have that started 2,163 kilometers. So he did 7,390 kilometers. By the end of this period when Akufo-Addo took over properly, because we gave him 7,115 kilometers. But when they started taking the source and were trying to shift everything properly, he had into his credit 7,390.20.
I can imagine.
Mills. So
okay. Together
you have 15,508 kilometers for mills and Mahama administration for the two terms. 15,508 kilometers, 0.22 in their credit. Akufo-Addo, his second term, 7 years, he has 6,977 kilometers. And so, let's go to Kufuor. Kufuor is one of the presidents who also did well. He performed very, very well. During the reign of President Kufuor, he tried to consolidate the various rural roads and so on, and brought that into the inventory, we call it inventory data of road network. And so he did very well. President Kufuor did over 13,400 and over. That's President Kufuor. But the boss of them all is President Rawlings. And all the paragraph statements I don't have to be here. If I have more time, I probably will have to get more time and go. But let's go to President Kufuor. President Kufuor, at the end of his two terms, had done 13,912.54 kilometers. And his first time, he did 5,869.6 kilometers. And his second time, he did 8,042.94 kilometers. So together, he had 13,912 kilometers.
Now let's go to Rawlings and then
President Rawlings, quickly. For President Rawlings, in his first time, he did 5,088.0 kilometers. And so you see that in 1993. So 1993, you see that in 1994, paragraph 42, he did 794 kilometers for urban, feeder, and rural. Then you have the trunk. You have 1994. You found out in 1995 budget statement in paragraph 34, he did 1,335 kilometers and more. And in 1995, that was recorded in 1996 budget statement, paragraph 61, he did 1,139 kilometers. Then in 1996, you can find out in 1997 budget statement in paragraph 78, 82,000. So all these are there.
Many people will be interested in listening to the debate on the floor of Parliament, and being a ranking member, I'm pretty sure you'll be challenging your colleagues on the other side with the figures and the references you are making. Now, our time is almost up, maybe in a minute or two.
Yes.
Cocoa road sector, suspended road projects, investigations that never came out with reports. Parliament has been chasing for contractors to be paid and so on. We know there are plans to haul those who are in charge before the House to answer questions. Now, what have you picked from the grapevine as a former deputy minister, from contractors, from people who are complaining, etc.? What's the problem, really?
That's good. So before I go to go, give you some few seconds. You see, the challenge we have now with Akufo-Addo is the issue of maintenance. The maintenance regime has collapsed because he's not using the road fund money to maintain our roads. And that is why everybody's complaining. He's constructing roads, but everybody's complaining. The issue is the maintenance. In spite of the fact that he has over close to 5 billion Ghana cedis going into the road fund. Road fund is supposed to be used for maintenance. That is not happening. But more importantly, especially for the case of President Mahama and Akufo-Addo, if he talks about constructing more roads, that is it. You have something called the proportion or the rate of road maintained and rehabilitated. So as at the time President Mahama was leaving office, the state of our road in terms of maintenance was 57%. Maintenance was 57%. This record is out there. 57% of our roads were maintained. Now, as at 2022, Nana Akufo-Addo, the rate of maintenance, the portion of rate of maintenance was 43%. So you can see 57% and 47%. That means that they are not maintaining the road. So the head of the road that President Mahama left with the motorability was 74%. You have this road condition mix of good, fair, and poor. he had 41% standing in his favor. Be good, votable, international standard. Then you have fair, 33% that you can be used and so on. The poor state was just 27%. So when he was leaving office, James Akufo-Addo, the road network of 78,402, the votability rate of the roads that we had in Ghana here was 74%. Now, what is the state? They have not been able to tell us because they are not doing road condition mix. So everything is in a mess. And they tell you, we are doing this, we are doing that. So these records are there. For the maintenance rate of 57% and 42%, the minister can even tell you the system has collapsed. It's maintenance. It is not happening. That's why we have the potholes and all over the place. Now back to cocoa roads. As we speak now, the indebtedness to contractors, indebted in the whole total roads, over 21 billion Ghana cedis. Over 21 billion Ghana cedis is the total portfolio, debt portfolio of cocoa. Remember when we left office and the whole balu was that cocoa roads owed about 4 billion. At the time it was around 1.5 billion. And there's total 4 billion. What is happening now? Over 21 billion Ghana cedis and so on. Now, as we speak now, all cocoa roads have been suspended. And there's nothing happening. Go to Daman, Ateku, Achampim Road, that the small is constructing, it's been suspended. Major cocoa roads have been suspended. Some have been terminated. You remember, they said we're doing the forensic audit. As we speak now, they paid about 10 million Ghana cedis for that. And we don't have any record to that effect. They have not been able to tender in any forensic audit report. And that is why we can't leave Bawumia. Because remember, Bawumia was always the man who always came around. We are not going to have loan or take loan any longer. We are just going to toll our roads. We are going to make concrete roads and many things. So for the cocoa roads, that is a challenge. They owe over 21 billion Ghana cedis of cocoa roads. Now, the cocoa sector is in trouble. We have difficulties transporting the cocoa. The small cocoa that we have, challenges transporting them to the mainstream. So in totality, when we bring everything together and put it in perspective, all we're saying is that what is the state of our roads? So we should differentiate the maintenance of our roads and the so-called the bridges and all those that we are talking about. Our roads are bad because we are not maintaining them. And virtually everywhere, potholes and many more. In spite of the fact that we have the road fund that accrues about 5 billion Ghana cedis for the maintenance. So what has happened to that money? So that is where, and everybody here in Ghana, the whole country over, I remember, before many other people were saying that, what's happening to our roads? It's because we are not maintaining it. And so if he was patching the potholes, he was weeding the roads, we wouldn't have this deplorable situation.
Unfortunately, our time is up, and that's where, because that's his sector, he's heating up. I'll bring you here again.
You have to
speak to other aspects of the road sector.
I'm so emotional.
And I'm still struggling to get one of your colleagues on the other side.
Let them come.
So that I can enjoy the debate.
I'm happy. Can you, on the floor, we're going to debate it. And because Nakufo is going away. You must carry the bad state of our roads all over and stop placarding all the whole place that is controlled with more than any other person.
Isaac Ajay-Mensah is my guest.
Thank you.
He's been a good friend, and we don't meet very often. Occasionally, we send text to ourselves.
Yes.
And today, I believe that many of you, at least, have had an appreciation of the debates on the road sector. There are references that have been sent to you. Go and read, and if you have any reason to challenge what Isaac Ajay-Mensah has said, why not send them to me? You will hear it, and we'll come here to answer questions. My name is Ahianyo. See you again next week. Bye for now.